Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your friendly neighborhood summoner Maladar, and I stood up late last night and did a thing, and that thing went against my better judgment. And despite giving this an F initially and being very upset with the gaming engine and all of the problems that still persist in the game despite the compensation, because they even state in that email that the game is not fixed yet, but hey, carry on as is. I stood up late, as I said, and I finished this. I did explore it, and I also got all the milestones, did all the challenges. Where is it? It's this other panel, as you can see. Do I still think it's an F? The event itself was good, but I do think that it was completely overtuned, and some of the things in the event could have been toned down considerably. And I'll go over some of the stuff that I would have done differently if I was the developer. I feel like instead of just sitting here and going over all the bad things in the game, maybe let's give them a little constructive feedback for the future and go from there. So I'll go path by path. The Darkhawk path and the Sorcerer Supreme paths were the easiest, in the sense that it was a good balance of the two challenges before the Grandmaster. It wasn't too hard, it wasn't too easy, it was just right. Darkhawk by itself was okay, no issues there. Rogue was a little overtuned. I felt like the block damage that Rogue was doing was too much. She's doing more black damage than a Grandmaster, and that's not okay. To have the mini boss before the main boss do more damage is just a little too crazy for me. So maybe her block damage could have been 20-25% less, and also the last 20% of the fight or whatever it is, she shouldn't be going unblockable. It's just that's adding a layer of nastiness on top of an already hard fight. It wasn't necessary. Maybe tone it down next time. Now the Mysterio by itself, if you have Apocalypse, that's why I used, and it worked really well. If it was Mysterio and maybe a Ghost right after, it wouldn't have been as bad. But you have Mysterio and you have to deal with all that craziness, and then you have to fight Rogue, who in some ways I think it was even more annoying than Mysterio. I feel like this was a very uneven combination, and I would have probably rearranged the map differently somehow. I don't know how. And maybe next time you do a challenge like this, don't add 4 techs and 3 mutants. Maybe put in a skill champion, a science champion, mix it up a little bit. There's plenty tough skill and science champions to go around. As far as Sinister, if you go into fighting like Warlock, who works really well for Sinister, then you're kind of screwed for the whatever Hydra dude right after, because if you're going in with the Doom, or it's a lot easier to do that because you can I think you can nullify him or whatever, so he doesn't go as many times unblockable. But with Warlock against him, it's like I barely had any chances to like do any damage. So it's gonna sound crazy, but I used more revives on him than I did on Sinister, which kind of like beats the whole purpose of having a hard Sinister. Depending on who you had to use for this path, I think it's okay, it's balanced okay. It's just I personally, because of who I went with, I had some difficulty. But Sinister alone is not hard, it's just very annoying. The Venom path, for me, the path itself was easy because I did it with Claire. It was such a breeze. She's really good for both of these champions. But the node on Grandmaster was the hardest, because you only get like 3 blunders, the red ones, whatever you call them. And then, it's very, very tough, because even if you don't make a mistake, but the game engine is still not working properly, it's a very punishing node, because even if you don't make a mistake, the game just, the dropped inputs and whatnot, and you get the 3 blunders and you're dead. Bye. Sorcerer Supreme, I already said it was easy. He's easy. I did it with the Immortal Hulk, and it was so fun, man. Like, I cannot believe how much I trashed Immortal Hulk when he came out. I think everybody did, to be fair. So it wasn't just me. But he's obviously a great champion, and honestly, he's my favorite science right now. Ghost to me was always from the beginning the easiest of all the challenges, because if she does her specials, it's just really, really, really easy. And as for Emma, we all know how Emma is. I did it with Kingpin. Kingpin is a tank, and you need a tanky champion for this path, especially for Emma. The Hitmonkey is fine, but if you can evade both hits on the special one, I guess you can use Hitmonkey because he does nice damage. If you're me and you block the first hit on the special one and you just evade the second one, then you can probably want to use Kingpin. So Kingpin for the Emma path, I-Hulk for the Sorcerer Supreme, Clairvoyant for Venom, Warlock for Mr. Sinister. I used Apocalypse for Mysterio, and I used Corvus Glaive for Darkhawk, and it was probably the funnest because he does a crazy ton of damage, and Corvus is my favorite champ, man. Go big or go home. That's what I always say. If the game was running perfect, there would be no parry issues, dexterity issues, dropped inputs, and it felt a lot like Grandmaster was behaving a little bit differently than he did in Act 6. Like his reach was crazy. Sometimes he was clipping you with a special one, even though you evaded. But the dexterity is broken, so maybe that's why. But even some of these other fights, they felt like overtuned. Something was tweaked. Like obviously, Rogue is not behaving like a regular Rogue. Mysterio is not behaving like a regular Mysterio. Like a lot of these champs, they're when you go in and make a challenge like this, you can tweak the code to make all the champions act differently, especially for this event or any other event. They do that all the time. It's possible to do it. It's nothing new in gaming. If they say that this never happens, it's a lie. Okay? I don't want to call them liars, but it's a lie. So I'm happy I got this done, and I wanted to do this mainly because after my initial video, when I was very triggered, I did that video after I did my first path, and I did a Venom path because I thought it's the easiest, but the whole 3 blunder situation on Grandmaster made it very difficult, and already with everything else broken, I had a really, really a hard time. I'm gonna be honest. It was after like a year of not fighting Grandmaster or whatever it was. I thought it was going to be a lot easier. I thought it was going to be more like I remembered Grandmaster, but he was not a fun time. And obviously I got very upset about it, and other people got upset about it. I mean, who wouldn't? So of course I made that grade F video, which I stand by, because you judge an event by its presentation. And even though it got affected by the game engine, by the whatever, all the stuff that's not working properly still in the game, it was part of the experience. I'm sorry. Maybe the event itself, if everything had worked right, maybe it would have been a C+ or a B-, because I still think it was very overtuned. Even the Grandmaster, man. Phase 2 should have had like 3 challenges. Phase 3 should have had maybe 4 challenges at the max, and maybe don't spam the same challenge 2 or 3 times in a row, like Knock Me Out challenge, or when you have to do a buff yourself and you're trying to do dex to get the dex buff up, and I do it like 10 times in a row and nothing is happening because dexterity is broken. You see what I'm saying? But the worst thing about Grandmaster for me personally, in this Grandmaster, which was the same as in Act 6, and I felt completely the same back then, is Phase 4. After you have to go through all that bullcrap, right? Why was Phase 4 necessary when you have to wait like 18 seconds and he's unblockable on whatever, unstoppable, whatever it is? That was, you know why they did that? To drain more units from you. It's really that simple, because you could say, hey, but maybe if you just intercept him, you can hit him and, the unblockable goes down for like 1.5 seconds and you can just repeat that. Yeah, in theory, you can do that like 3 or 4 times and you're fine. But in practice, if the match starts and he just keeps rushing you, you have no physical time to do an intercept, and you just get cornered right away and punched to death, which is what happens over and over again until you get the right RNG where you can have the window to intercept, and then you can finish the fight. I always love it when I make videos like this and then I have a couple of wise guys in the comments, oh man, you're just not skilled enough. It's very solvable. Oh, this path was very easy. I did it with no revives. Good job. And you know what you are? You're a very skilled player. Congrats. You had the best RNG you could have possibly. You got lucky and good for you. It doesn't mean that it's the same for all of us. And obviously, the hard time that I had is not the same for everybody else. Clearly, I'm not speaking for everyone. This is just about my personal experience. But guess what? I am not the only one who shares this experience. A lot of the top players, many of them YouTubers, have shared the same issues and concerns. So maybe we're not all crazy. That being said, I'm glad they did this event. I just wish it didn't have all the problems it came with. Hopefully next time around they will just make a better event in the sense that it'll be a little more creative. Maybe don't have the Grandmaster as the main boss again. Maybe you switch it to some other champs that we're not used to seeing every time there's something hard in the game. Maybe no more, Emma Frost and Venom and stuff like that. Maybe let's see a Psycho Man or a Mangog. Why didn't you guys just use any of these new champs that you released this year? That's all I have to say about it. And the event expired by now because it's already past 10 a.m. Pacific here in California. I just wanted to share my honest thoughts now that I completed it last night, and apparently late last night I was not the only person finishing Summer of Pain. Actually, quite a few of my friends were finishing it, and I'm glad we all decided to do it and get it done. For me personally, it was also a thing that I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it, even though it cost me everything. And I had so many items and I had so many units to go into this and so many arena crystals that I had to open to get more units. And then for the event we just had last week where we had the halls of healing and I got more revives and items from that. And then it was like a week in between me finishing it and my initial path, and I got even more items from farming. And on top of everything that I had and, saved and all that, it was 2 Odins. Because I know I'm not the best fighter, but I'm not the worst either. And if everything was running perfectly, maybe it would have been cheaper, but at least I got it done. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out this video, and let me know how your Summer of Pain experience was in the comments below. If you've had to go through any of the stuff that I had to go through, give this a thumbs up, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. We're in this together. And I'm all over social media at Maladar Gaming for those of you new here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.